Welcome to another episode of Self Reflections. I'm your host, Klaudia. Today I'm thrilled to introduce you to an inspiring guest, Tori Packer. Tori started her career as a dedicated teacher, but soon realised her passion for connecting people in a more profound way. Transitioning from the classroom to the vast world of social media, Tori mastered the digital landscape to bring people together. Not stopping there, she delved deeper into her personal journey, emerging as a sought-after intuition and manifestation coach. Her story is a powerful testament to following one's inner calling and transforming it into a force for change. Welcome, Tori. I'm excited to have you with us today.
Hello, my beautiful Klaudia. It is such an honor to be here with you and with all the beautiful people listening. So thank you so much for having me.
Of course. Tori, could you give us a little bit of an introduction about who you are and just introducing yourself to the Self Reflections community?
Yes, I'd love to. So my name is Tori Packer, and just like you said, I've actually been a classroom teacher in primary school or junior school for like around 20 years. I think it might be 18 or 19 years. And the whole entire time, I have always been driven into nurturing children's well-being because I was obviously in the world of children, and I just was always I had this tunnel vision with well-being. And so it's almost like a natural evolution to now what I believe to have moved into the intuition space, which fundamentally is linked to well-being, because when people live an intuitive, heart-led, soul-led life, your well-being is infinite and it flourishes, and it's just the most beautiful, magical entanglement of them both.
And honestly, as you say that, my heart is just igniting with so much passion and excitement. So I can imagine that it brings a lot of warmth to you working in such a space as well.
Yeah, my heart, it every single day, and how do I articulate this? I want to say every single day I wake up with the most like a fire in my heart. And I also want to acknowledge that this is not the space for toxic positivity. And although I'm telling you right now that I wake up so just like happy and like with a skip in my step, I want to simultaneously share that it is so important to not fall into the trap of toxic positivity, and to feel your feelings is not only okay, it's really important.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. So as we dive into our discussion, we begin by a pressing issue in today's digital era, the quest for authenticity in the digital age. In a world where social media profiles can often define us, finding true authenticity is more challenging and crucial than ever. Tori, in a world where social media often dictates our self-perception, how do you navigate the challenges of staying true to your authentic self?
This is a really big question, and I love it. And thank you so much for asking. And what I want to kind of encourage people to do, the pressure, I guess, to show up as your authentic self, in inverted commas, I believe is almost as debilitating as the pressure to be perfect. And the reason for that is this. Lots of us, including me, our authentic self is a journey. It's a journey of self-discovery. And people often are like, you hear the message, show up as your authentic self, and then they get kind of paralyzed by, but like, what is my authentic self? I'm not even really sure. And it's so important that, one, to know that is totally normal, to not have a checklist where you're like, this is my authentic self, tick, I like this color, It's so much more organic than that. And you are allowed to just take your first step. And what authentic is going to feel like is it's going to feel not necessarily safe, but it's going to feel in alignment. It's going to feel really true, I guess is the right word I want to say. And it's not a ticker box. You don't have to say, you don't have to put your authentic self in a sentence. It's just show up in a way that just feels really true to you in that moment. And that will be not only doing the right thing for you, it'll be exploding the message that, you know, not being certain is so beautiful, and it is the mess of being human that is so magical and beautiful.
Absolutely. And I think it's also part of the journey too. The mess is the journey, the mess is the exploration. It's exactly what we need to happen for us to then live authentically, I believe.
1000%. And I feel that so many people, including the people that I work with, and I'd be interested to hear if you have this experience in your line of work as well. Um, they're kind of chasing clarity, but I need clarity on what I want to do, or clarity on who I am, or clarity on what I want. And they are looking for the one big answer of clarity. And I want to really encourage people to just lean in, because the clarity comes from the mess. The mess is so beautiful.
Yes, it is, isn't it?
Yeah.
In my practice, I've actually observed the profound impact digital personas can have on someone's actually sense of self. I find that so pivotal in my clients that, they curate lives based on what they see online that sometimes can distort their own self-image and their own expectations, leading to really, really limited belief systems and then therefore behaviors. And that can easily lead to coping in ways that is so misaligned. And I call that our conditioned self, right? We've got our authentic self, which is true. All of that part of we shed all of those coping mechanisms and the facade and the mask, and that's part of our conditioned self. And what I feel is part of that authentic self is really, really that raw, honest, unapologetically, imperfectly beautiful you. And I find that many clients come to me feeling quite inadequate or stressed trying to measure up to some of the standards set by some of those online illusions. And it's sad because it actually does impact mental health and our own sense of self quite significantly. And it's so natural for us to then fall into that trap of a facade and not feel like we're able to align with sometimes, how do I say this? We get lost. We get very lost because we're stuck in that comparative state of what we find online.
Yeah, and I want, you touched when you were introducing me at the start that for transitioning from teacher into an intuition coach, I was also doing social media coaching in between there for a little bit. And the reason why I ended up leaving social media coaching specifically and moved more into just getting to truly know your true self and your intuition and your well-being and your alignment is almost identical to what you were just describing. People would come to me and want to grow their social media following. And no matter how hard I tried to educate them into the understanding that the power is not in your social media following number. The power is in you, and this is how you can show up, and this is how you can connect. The power is in connection. And I'd show them all the ways to really connect deeply with someone on a human-to-human level. And kind of these clients would listen and kind of nod their head and then leave still wanting to grow their following, because they put their worthiness on the amount of followers that they had. And I could not be in that world for another minute because it broke my heart, because these people were putting their worthiness on a follower number. And what I wanted to do is help them put their worthiness just on their internal world. And P.S., we were inherently born worthy. There is no such thing as unworthy and worthy, because everyone is just all completely worthy.
Absolutely. It's in abundance, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
Moving into our next topic, we explore a transformative experience that many of us encounter but may not fully understand: spiritual awakening, the turning point. And some of our audience are either going to really be curious, their ears are going to pop up a little bit, where others it might not align to, and that's absolutely okay. But this pivotal shift can profoundly affect how we perceive ourselves and the world around us. I find that spiritual awakening is often marked by a profound realization or a shift in consciousness that expands our understanding of life. It's kind of like waking up from a really, really deep slumber to see the world with completely brand new eyes. And it really, this kind of awakening does shake up and can disrupt former ways of thinking, and it can actually be triggered by a really significant deep introspection. I find that it's such a pivotal topic that I want to explore with you because I've definitely had a spiritual awakening. You have had a spiritual awakening. I know from your socials you do share that. And I really, really wanted to highlight the way of us being able to explain the profound impacts of this. So, in your words, Tori, what would be a spiritual awakening for you if you were to explain it to someone?
Beautiful question. I want to share my own journey because I don't like putting words into, other people's journeys, but I would love to explain what it felt like for me. It's exactly like you so eloquently just put, where it's almost like I got thrust into this new reality. Mine, for me, happened when I first gave birth to my first child, Austin, and it was a traumatic birth, and I ended up in the ICU. And even postnatal was a really difficult time. I lost all my milk and a whole heap of things. But so to me, my mind was telling me, your body failed, your body failed, your body failed. And I, in those kind of first couple of weeks, I had this profound, what people now call in the spiritual world, they call them downloads or drop-ins. But for me, it's just like this profound thought is how I'd describe it, especially to those who are unsure, are kind of new to the spiritual world. It's like a thought that dropped in and said, you are so much more than your physical human body. I felt this intense guidance and love from this source outside of my body. And that was the start of my spiritual awakening. And it just continues to be a journey from there, where you just know that there's so much more.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That is such a beautiful story, and being able to profoundly separate yourself from, like you describe it, your vessel. It comes at, I find, many of us in periods of darkness. It's that light, I think, that creates a complete shift for us. Mine, I find, happened a little slower than that, where I've always been quite spiritual throughout my upbringing and very much felt a very strong connection to past lives. And I knew that I'll be coming back. Like, that's always, I used to joke around that. And I actually, on reflection, always used to consider myself quite a lucky person, very much thinking I just got whatever I wanted, really, and not actually knowing how to truly explain it. And I think it was it was during the COVID time where a lot of information was being shared and a lot of anger and grief and shedding was occurring from, like I mentioned, what was our conditioned self to growing into our authentic self, that made me feel so much more curious about what's out there, what is more. And I did a lot of research and started to really get into a lot of meditations where I experienced a lot of what you called downloads and those types of visions that made me feel connected to different versions of me or different parts of me.
Yeah.
I actually also engaged in a past life regression and was able to experience something so beautiful that I'm sure I can explore a little bit further in another episode. But that in itself just
Do you think that you could give us a few minutes on that past life regression? I think it's so fascinating when people hear about these, or is it too much of a long story?
It's probably something that might need to wait to another time, just because it's so personal as well, and everyone's going to
Okay.
have something different. But just for those who might not know, past life regression is being able to be go into a hypnotic state under the support of someone who is trained in QHHT hypnosis, and being able to explore parts of your past lives, parts connecting to your higher consciousness, being able to explore ask questions and explore deeper things that you might not be able to access in your conscious mind or unconscious mind. So it's in the subconscious, I guess.
That's right. And
So
so
it's
people understand it can then also, you can carry beliefs and I guess stories and programming from past lives. So that's why it can be really
yeah.
profound if, like you, Claudia, experienced a past life regression. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that in itself just solidified and gave me understanding as to what those little tiny things that I was experiencing my whole life, it really just helped me understand, wow, I am someone in here that is separate to my thoughts, separate to emotions, separate to everything around me. And that it was such a freeing experience, especially after a lot of the hardships that many of us have in our own personal experience and life.
Absolutely. Ah, that's so powerful. Thank you for sharing.
We might need to come back to talking about
Yeah, well,
past
so
life
episode
regression.
2, ladies and gentlemen. I'll see you in a few months' time for the past life regression.
Absolutely. Um, Tori, making a significant niche switch, especially after achieving so much success, is a significantly bold move. What
Mm,
inspired you to embrace this change, and how did it align with your core values and your vision of your authentic self?
mm. So, yeah, I have always been someone who deeply wants everyone to experience just the most beautiful life. And
Mm.
I'm someone who gets joy out of watching others experience the beauty that life can provide for us.
Mhm.
And so when I'm being a social media coach, I really struggled with people putting profound happiness and worthiness on social media, on their social media growth, or on their social media statistics, or on their social media following numbers. And I still believe that what I'm doing is my ultimate same purpose, being that I want to help others live this life that is abundant in so much beauty and joy and love. And um, previously, my vehicle to do that was helping them grow their business through social media. And when that stopped
Mhm.
feeling aligned in my heart, I practiced what I preached. I practiced what I preach, and I pivoted into a new vehicle, which was still helping with the same purpose of helping people create lives that they're obsessed with. But the
Mhm.
vehicle was no longer aligned for me. So I swapped the vehicle, and it what you as you say, it was a very bold move, but I guess I'm someone who I I don't it's one of my kind of highest values. I don't do things that don't light me up. I just don't do them.
Mhm.
If something's making me feel extraordinarily heavy and the energy is draining as opposed
Mhm.
to growing, I will pivot because
Mhm.
my life is so important to me. So it does sound like a bold move on paper, but in reality, it was just well, this is what I'm doing next.
Yeah. And do you think that your spiritual awakening helped with that? Really solidify what you wanted to engage in or what really resonated with you?
Absolutely, absolutely. Because to give context, this was probably so the Austin being born part was it was 7.5 years ago. And
Mhm.
me swapping into an intuition and manifestation coach was almost 18 months ago, so a year and a half ago. And this is actually when my dad passed away. I had another kind of almost like a visceral reaction. I was catapulted into this new a deeper understanding of a spiritual awakening because, as we were mentioning before, it is a journey where you
Yes.
continue to evolve and go deeper, and it's not just this one moment in time and now I'm woke. It's this
Yeah.
journey that you continue to go on. And so when my dad passed away, who was the most just profoundly incredible human being, I realized, I looked back and I was like, oh my God, that's why I went through this spiritual awakening like 6 years ago at the time, so that I could then prepare myself for what was about to happen now. So then I could step into this realm and I can help other people understand that. And I deeply believe that my
Mhm.
dad has never left me. And
Mhm.
when you lose loved ones, and if you're already quite spiritual, you just truly anchor into that knowing that you,
Yep.
all they have lost is their physical human body, and not a single part of them, actually truly them, is missing ever. We're always together.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I agree with that. I want to dive into how we can harness our inner wisdom in a world that often prioritizes logic over gut feelings, finding balance amidst these constraining approaches. How did you develop and start trusting your intuition amidst a society that often values logic over gut feelings, Tori?
Okay, I love this because I was the person, like you mentioned before, where you can do it and you're not sure how or what you're doing. You
Mhm.
just are like, whoa, I'm so lucky. Everything just kind of is so beautiful in my life. What have I done compared to this person over here who is suffering a lot more than me? Why am I so special? And I sat down with a friend of
Mhm.
mine, Dante, who
Mhm.
was like, she said, Tori, I know you and you want to go and teach this to the world. And you're going to have to come up with a framework of exactly how you did it. And it doesn't matter how long that takes you, but you need to sit with it and you need to backwards engineer what you do. And
Mhm.
so I did. I came up with a framework, and it is so incredibly powerful and so incredibly simple. And I would love to share it with you and your audience if that might help them on their journey as well.
Absolutely.
Okay, beautiful. Well, it's called the Dreamer Framework, Dreamer. And each letter represents a step that you need to take to call in all the beautiful joy, love, finances, relationships, and just abundance in your life. So D stands for declare and decide. The first thing you have to do is declare and decide what it is you want. Lots of people know what they don't want, but they don't
Mhm.
know what they do want. And if that is you who is listening today, I want to let you know that that is okay. You are normal. So many people know what they don't want. Like, I don't want this job. This job is so draining. This relationship's draining.
Mhm.
This friend makes me feel horrible, and
Mhm.
so on and so on. They can't quite articulate what they do want. So the first thing I really want you to do is declare and decide what it is that you want. Now, R is for dreamer. So R, recognize how that feels in your body. Now,
Mhm.
for example, someone might say, I want $1 million. And then you really need to sit with what it feels like to have $1 million tomorrow and recognize what it feels like in your body, because often you dream about the fairyland of having $1 million and then you sit with it and you realize, oh, but actually I'd be nervous because then all my family and my friends would think that I just cheated and got that just yesterday. And then they might think I'm greedy, and how dare I even ask for $1 million? That'll make me such a greedy person. And then who am I going to share my money with, or who aren't I going to share my money with? And you spiral into this like, and
Doubt
then
and
that,
fear, right?
yes,
Doubt
doubt
and
and
fear.
fear. And so that recognition of how it actually feels in your body is what you're going to remove in the rest of the dreamer method.
Mhm.
So you recognize how it is, then you clear any of those limiting beliefs through all of the magnificent tools that are available for you. Hypnosis is one that you just mentioned earlier. You can do
Mhm.
reframing techniques, NLP, which is neuro linguistic programming. There's
Yeah.
journaling, there's visualization, so many tools that you can use to melt these limiting beliefs away. But first, you
Mhm.
really have to do the work to
Yes.
recognize what those feelings even are, so that you can melt them away, because they're living in your subconscious mind. And let me tell you, your subconscious mind is making 95% of your reality. So if you don't actually dig deep into that subconscious, it's going to rule you for the rest of your life without you even realizing that it's doing so.
Meditation is
Yep.
another good one there, isn't it?
Meditation,
Because
yes.
that actually pulls you into a lot of those inner connections of what is it that you truly want. Because it's one thing to journal things out and then close it and come back to it. If you haven't actually truly connected to how that is making you feel and letting go of the energy of that emotion that might be keeping you stuck, especially if it's something as dense and heavy as fear and doubt.
Oh my gosh, absolutely. Thank you for sharing. Absolutely. Meditation's so powerful. And people do find meditation tricky. And isn't that interesting?
Mm.
We find it tricky because it's so hard to be still and sit still in this modern world and society.
Mhm.
In ancient civilizations, stillness was all around. And now we're just like, but up, but up, but up, but up, but up, but up, but up. And so I acknowledge that it's really hard, and that is why you need to really step in and practice that even more. And I'm sorry that's going to be triggering to people. So I'll be like, fuck meditation, I can't do this. And I encourage you to lean in.
Yes. I have had clients for years in therapy when they actually they're reluctant. And it's finally when they, go back to the basics, they're like, okay, Claudia, I have finally taken you up on the journaling and the meditation that you told me years ago. And holy shit, it's working. And I'm just like,
Yes.
yeah, I don't just tell you to do it for no reason, but
That's
it
right.
takes time. And sometimes it does have to work on the barriers that are getting in the way to actually do the work, right? But the work has to be done for any pivotal changes to happen.
Take me to church. Preach, baby, preach.
What were the other steps, Tori? What's next in line?
We are E. You have to. So E stands for embody the person who already has whatever it is that you are wanting to call into your life.
So that
Ultimately, that means step into that higher self version of you. I'm not telling you to go and buy a Ferrari, because if you were a millionaire, you would buy a Ferrari. It's not as 3D as that. Add to car. It's not as 3D world as that. I want you to step into the embodiment of the feelings and of the values and of the decisions that that higher self version of you would be making. And P.S. that higher self version of you already exists. This is a whole another conversation of quantum physics, but she is you. It's not like you're trying to become someone. She is you.
So, and she has it all, so you can have it too.
Exactly. A for dreamer. A is take aligned action. And so many people are like, I've got to take action, I've got to move. They're all telling me, like, I've got to do this quick. Where's my email flow? And da-da-da-da. Now, all that can be important. That's the masculine energy, but it needs to feel aligned. And this was the movement, like how we were discussing before, how I moved from social media coach to intuition coach. I was no longer feeling aligned. And so I pivoted into a journey of aligned action, which all the abundance, has flown in, because ultimately, because I listened to my soul. And when you take that leadership from that aligned action, as opposed to just actions for action's sake, is going to get you there a lot sooner. Now, the old bro world where you're like, get up at 4 o'clock and have 6 espressos and get in there and do the work. This can possibly get people to where they want to go as well.
Absolutely. I think it comes down to what best suits you, because some people work in that framework where others don't, right?
Yeah, exactly. Whereas aligned action is connected to source. If you follow your alignment, you're going to get there. That's a promise. So we're up to A, aligned action. M, DREAM. Okay, this is one that other coaches don't talk about. So you heard it here first, girlfriend. Maintenance. You have to
Yes.
continue to be in resonance with what it is that you want. So the universe is going to constantly bring you opportunities for whatever it is that you want. That's the universe's job.
Mhm.
But you need to keep up this maintenance of recognizing how it's feeling. Is there more I need to clear? Am I embodying my higher self? Am I aligned? Because if you don't keep up that maintenance, what's going to happen is the universe is going to throw opportunities at you. You will not be in resonance with those opportunities, which means you won't even notice them or you'll turn them away. And so you will miss these opportunities. Now, I do believe that what is destined for you, you will finally get. But if you keep that maintenance up, you can get it in such a shorter timeline than in getting it in 50 years. So the maintenance
And that,
is so
I think,
important.
comes down to so many different things. It's not just your everyday practice, but it's then also your belief system, your energy levels, so many
Oh,
different things that can either get get the receival of those gifts that are rightfully yours, or create barriers to prevent you from obtaining
exactly.
those things. And that's also in the way that we think, right? We think maintenance is like, okay, well, I journal, well, I, meditate, well, do all the right things. But if the inner world is not aligning with receiving what it is that is rightfully yours to receive, no matter how well you do things, no matter that every day you engage in those activities, in the end, if your inner dialogue is doubting or not aligned with your higher self or higher good, you're too erratic in there, or your thoughts are naturally using this kind of language that really, really confuses whether or not you are ready to receive, that I find is
Mhm.
so pivotal in being able to understand. You can do all the work, but the work doesn't mean a tick a box. It has to be
Exactly.
work that is
Exactly.
also needing to be done.
The work is simply just the tools that
Yes.
helps nurture your inner world. It is all about your inner world. And this work, if you're ticking boxes of today I journaled, tick, today I meditated, tick, they are just tools. That is not actually the work, so to say. The work is
No.
your internal world.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah.
What do we have next?
Okay, dream. E. Okay, this is one again that is so valuable that a lot of people miss, and that second E stands for evidence. You are living in a human world, and if you are
Yes.
someone who feels like you need the evidence to help convince you of XYZ, look back in your life or start collecting evidence from now of times that you have felt the way that you are trying to manifest. To put that into an example to make it clear for you, again, let's just use the $1 million, I want $1 million example, because that's really tangible, so it's simple for people to grasp. um where in your world have you felt before abundant in money, in finances? Perhaps it is the typical one that people say of finding coins on the footpath. And I love that. But also, if you are living in a house, there is so much money surrounded in that house. Someone paid for the land, someone paid for the builder, someone paid for the materials, the furniture in your house. There is so much abundance of finances around you, the phone that you're holding, the laptop that you're working on, the car that you drive to work. And you can really tap into this if you are attuned to collecting them. Now, in the same breath, I do want to share this, but this goes a lot deeper, but I'm just going to throw a little hand grenade here at the audience. We actually want to manifest our feelings. So just say you do want $1 million. I really want you to dig into, why do I want to manifest that $1 million? Because again, the $1 million is very 3D. So let's tap into our internal world. Well, I want $1 million because I actually want to feel freedom, and I want to have the ability to connect with people whenever I can without the constraints of I've got to be at work at 9 till 5 or whatever it is for you. You might be feeling free, you might be feeling joy, you might be feeling calm. I want you to start collecting evidence in your life of where and how have you already, and can you collect it in the future of you're feeling freedom. Perhaps it's going for a walk by yourself without the noise of children, without the podcast, without the music, but on your walk, you just feel free. And if you continue to stack all of this evidence, you are going to become in resonance with receiving from the universe. The last one is just to simply release it to the universe. And that's one that most people find so tricky, because they're like, but how do I think about it? And how do I collect it? How do I collect the evidence? And how do I do the maintenance? But also I'm meant to release it, la, 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 like that. The best way I can explain releasing it is be okay with it not happening. That is release. Being truly surrendering. I really want to buy this house on Kent Street. I don't know why I said Kent Street then. It just came into my mind. I think it's in Monopoly. I wonder if Kent Street's like the expensive one, or it's probably the gross brown color one that's like the cheap one. Anyway, buy a house on Kent Street. Okay, so the way you surrender is by saying, and I know that I'm loved and okay and safe if I don't get the house on Kent Street. That's a really good tangible way in knowing how you can actually surrender. Yeah,
I often encourage people, when you put meaning to something too much, you get stuck in it and disappointment comes, and therefore your energy then changes from the excitement and purity that is the alignment with what it is you're receiving, to something that then induces fear and doubt again. So that's what we're trying to explain, is it's all an emotive inner world. So if you put way too much emphasis and meaning on getting this thing and frustration that you're not receiving it or not yet, or you have to work hard, all of that is completely changing the alignment of you getting to the point of it exactly receiving it on your end. So I often find that when I get really, really frustrated or angry at something, I already know it's going to take longer for me to achieve something, because I'm not in the emotional alignment with that thing that I have requested, that naturally I'm going to work towards. But because I'm blocked by this energy of emotion, I'm then creating a barrier for me to obtain what it is that I'm yet to receive. So I think when you're describing the release, it's not putting meaning to something. And it's so hard to not put meaning to something, because we are programmed to either categorize something as positive, negative, or neutral. And being able to be okay with it not affecting you is a really, really tough practice, but one that can naturally be developed over time. That's why it's called a practice, but it is something that I think aligns with what you mean by releasing as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And it comes back to the foundation that you and I discussed, which is it's actually all your internal world. So if you're putting pressure on this thing to happen, that is actually external from you. So always invite yourself to kind of catch that thought, come back to your internal world, and take a deep breath and just remind yourself, that you're safe, you're loved, you're okay. And it also kind of all entangles with the whole aligned action, because if you're living an aligned life as opposed to a hustle action, if you're living an aligned life, just you do feel calmer and you do feel safe. And so it all entangles with itself. And so I guess that's why I just really want to close the dreamer framework with always come back to your internal world are where all the keys and all the answers are.
And I know some of this is going to be quite challenging for some of our viewers, and whether it's clients that already follow us or new viewers that stumble upon this podcast and video, we are, because we started talking about the logical world and how we're all stuck in it. And it really kind of creates a bit more of a structured, well, no, this is what is evidence-based. This is what you need to follow. This is a medical model. This is, the world we live in. It's very rigid. And the way that we've just spoken about everything, Tori, is actually quite spiritual and open and authentic. And I know that sometimes I would, find myself struggling because I've was educated through the medical model, and
Mhm.
really coming into my, my true spiritual awakening and moving into a more holistic way of being within myself and in my practice is something that has profoundly helped a lot of my clients that actually were stuck, where the medical
Mm.
model wasn't doing enough for them because it wasn't deep enough for them to make those true connections and movement that then created the outcome that they would like in different ways. So
Yeah.
I think, as we talk about it, there's a part of me that I'm hearing is like, I wonder if many people are going to reject this because it doesn't sit well with their logical mind, because we all vibrate up here, really. Majority of us have been conditioned to be very logical. It's us now trying to push ourselves into our body, into our emotional experience, into our energy, which is
Yeah.
something that's been developing, that's been in the Eastern practices for like yonks, but in our, daily practice, it's so much more profound. And I know that many are either going to be curious and want to explore, and others are going to feel like they don't align with this because it doesn't sit, like it cannot yet go past that
Mhm.
logical state that they're stuck in.
And I want to share that, and that's okay. You know,
Yes.
um, it's not a place to convince anyone that, my way is the best way. You have to follow me. Like I am the guru of all gurus. I really, really want to share the message that wherever you are at, that is completely okay. And if you're living in the logical world and you're like, this is so crap, or listening to this kind of spiritual side of life,
Mm.
wherever you are at is completely okay. I
Mhm.
think that I loved that you used the word holistic because that's really important to me.
Mhm.
I haven't trained in the medical field like you have, but I did grow up with both my parents being doctors. My siblings are either in the medical field or the accounting field. So, very
Yeah.
like numbers, scientific, factual family. And so it was very left of field for me to have this spiritual awakening.
Mm.
And I actually still value very, very much the medical space. And I
Yes.
do think that some spiritual leaders, mentors, whatever, in on social media and things that I see just hate and on the medical world. And I fundamentally disagree with that because I also want to say, and we are a spiritual being and we are living a human existence. So we juggle them both. It's like we're wearing two rollerblades and they
Mhm.
have to be in alignment with each other. Otherwise, if one goes off over here, this rollerblade doesn't work, or you stack it. And if one goes off over here, the left rollerblade doesn't work. So you're almost juggling these two realms, the spiritual realm and the
Mhm.
human realm. And I'm so grateful for what medical science has given us. And
Yes.
I think we all need to lean into this just holistic approach and not be pressured that I have to choose this left hand rollerblade or right hand rollerblade. And instead, it's just keeping them both aligned.
I couldn't agree more, honestly. It is just being able to take the best of all worlds that
Yeah.
perfectly align with each individual. And that's, I guess, how I sometimes, not sometimes, always tailor my treatment, is being able to really be guided by where someone is comfortable to go at the time that they're comfortable to go there.
Yeah.
Me as a practitioner, it can present them with all of the different options, and it's completely up to them where they want to go with that. And that's the beautiful thing about my role, is that every experience is so different and so unique, and the journey, to help someone through that is so profoundly special to that person, and the union that you then make as
Mhm.
part of that treatment plan.
I just realized I had this massive drop in right now in this moment. So, this is so exciting to share right now, kind of as we're recording. Oh my gosh. Okay. You might have remembered that I shared at the beginning of the episode my spiritual awakening started with the birth of Austin, and I got very, very sick and I had to go into ICU and I almost died. Wow, my heart's beating. This is huge. Okay. And The only reason I am alive is because of Western medicine. Western medicine
Yes.
kept me alive. And how profound that if I go back there right now and I'm talking about being holistic, that the moment I had my spiritual awakening was
Mhm.
because of Western medicine. It all
Mhm.
started when they came together in um, this beautiful tapestry at the very, very start. Wow, boom, mic drop.
I love that. Love that. Thank you for sharing that, Tori.
Yeah.
Our next segment was going to be really to talk about manifestation, but I think we've started already with what you've explained with the dreamer kind of framework. And thank you so much for
Mm.
sharing that because it just simplifies some of the steps of what people can use to be able to get on kind of the journey of what that would look like.
Yep.
I kind of wanted to explain for some people that manifestation is essentially about bringing our deepest desires and visions into reality through our thoughts, our feelings, and our actions. And you touched on that so beautifully that it's not just this one particular thing of, I want this and therefore it is mine.
Mhm.
We know that it is grounded in a principle that thoughts have the power to shape our reality. And I say this so pivotally to everyone I meet. And for me, I must say, if I think something, and especially if I say something, it then creates itself within about 48 hours. It is
Mhm.
insane how powerful our thoughts actually are. And when we actually understand the concept, we can then be able to navigate the space in both a scientific and spiritual way, because there is actually so much evidence that supports the impact of thoughts. And when we look at old school psychology, right, it's thoughts influence emotions, influence behaviors, but it also then has a profound impact because everything is energy. So, like you said there, Tori, it's that beautiful, beautiful collaboration of the
Yes.
scientific and the spiritual, isn't it?
Yes. And if I can kind of step into that even further, because this is really important for me to share actually, there are people who have mental health conditions. And I want to share with you, if you are listening, if that is you, I actually fundamentally believe that you did not manifest your mental health condition. It is a chemical imbalance in your brain. And you might have dark thoughts and cyclic thoughts and intrusive thoughts. And I want you to hear me when I say this is not you, this is not your truth. And
Mm.
that help from the medical field, if you seek a medical practitioner who can actually help you clear the fog and clear the cloud, that dark cloud that is in your brain, is such a powerful thing to do, because what that is actually going to help you to do is to access the thoughts that are your truth. So
Mhm.
if you have a mental health condition, those thoughts that are cycling around your mind and those intrusive thoughts that are coming in, these are not you. This is a
Mhm.
chemical imbalance in your brain. And if you just seek help to clear that fog, magic can be on the other side for you.
And so many to add to that. Some it is the chemical balance, absolutely, and for majority of us, it's actually neurological pathways that being created, which beautifully can be recreated and
Yes.
we have. Now got studies to show that our brain can be rewired at any time. So, that's what we mean by that conditioned self versus then now moving into the authentic
Exactly.
self. And knowing we have the power and then accessing the tools and the clinicians that help with that, oh, the world's our oyster, both internally and externally.
Oh my God. Yes, exactly. Thank you for sharing that. That is so, so true.
So, in our next segment, I wanted to actually look at some additional practical steps to aligning life and goals, seeing if we can kind of focus on some actionable advice that our audience can apply on a regular basis every single day. Tori, you've already talked about the dreamer kind of framework, but are there any other practical steps and strategies for listeners to start integrating intuition and manifestation into their daily lives, emphasizing, I guess, the importance of very small and consistent actions?
Yeah, I'd love to share this. Stillness and silence is imperative. You can't work your way around it. You need stillness and silence. And the first step in living a intuitive-led, soul-led, heart-led life, manifesting all this beautiful abundance in your life, is deciding that you are going to, and holding yourself to your own integrity. When you decide that you are going to, make it a non-negotiable in your life to have stillness and silence.
Mhm.
I have 3 young toddler boys. I work. I have a husband who's away for work almost every 4 nights a week. I did a live through renovation. I am the poster girl of a busy, hectic life. Stillness
Mhm.
and silence is a non-negotiable in my life. And let me share some practical ways with how I do that in case it helps you. 1,
Mhm.
I shower in silence with the lights off and I lock the door. 2, I drive in silence. Now, not every time. I have 3 young boys, but I do. There's a term called a silent drive, and I say to them, this is a silent drive, and they know what that means. It took training and it took time to train 3 boys how to be quiet in a car. But when you are on a mission and you stick to your own integrity, you're going to do this. You have going to have a silent drive. Now people kind of don't want their children to have screen time. Well,
Mhm.
I'm a big believer that if I need to put Bluey on for 3 or 4 episodes so that I can go and have some silence, that is my priority. So I will
Mhm.
absolutely get them to sit down while I duck upstairs and have some quiet time in my room. What
Mhm.
I'm doing in my room is I'm not journaling. I'm just sitting in silence, full stop. There's no music, there's no journaling. I'm just doing self-reflecting in my thoughts, or I'm
Mhm.
journaling, or I'm doing a visualization, meditation. They would be the most frequent tools that I use. I also really like
Mhm.
ritual. You don't have to like ritual, but I would love to light a candle. I do
Yeah.
some sage burning, but it's more just for the ritual of grounding into my own body. And
Yep.
I tell my kids I'm going to go and do a meditation. Again, you have to
Mhm.
teach them that this is a time where they don't disturb me unless they have to go to hospital, is what I tell them. And be okay with having to teach your children this. It doesn't
Mhm.
happen the first time you do it. They will come barging back through the door again.
Mhm.
But when you are, really true to your purpose, you can just keep gently realigning them to go back downstairs. I'm doing meditation. This is important. And soon they will learn the ropes of what that means.
Mhm. And I love that you shared that experience because you have the experience of a mum, right? I don't have that experience. I have an experience of a busy business owner where I am literally on every aspect, whether it's, managing staff, hiring staff, payroll, invoicing, managing clinicians, seeing my clients as a psychologist, doing all of the socials. So in contrast, while I don't have children to kind of be pulling at my skirt every single day, I do have so many other responsibilities. So for those
Mhm.
listeners or watchers, our audience who are very, very busy, they might not have children, but are very much pulled at so many different kind of ways. What I would be sharing that works for me is very similar to Tori, where it actually is you turn off your devices, you specifically set everything on to do not disturb, and it doesn't have to be for the whole day, but unless you are literally a brain surgeon or a crisis person on call, you're probably not needed all the time. So
Mhm.
everything can wait, whether it's 2 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and it's starting small to begin with. I find practicing gratitude every single day helps me at times where things are really challenging or overwhelming, that then allows me to realign what it is that I'm doing the hard work for, and it helps me shift the inner stress or hardship for me to align again with the emotion that I want based on what what journey I'm currently on. I think that's super important. And getting in the sunshine or in the ocean are probably my other two things. One, because there's so much energy that comes from the sun. We've been programmed to think that the sun is our biggest danger, where it actually, in fact, isn't. It's what grows our trees and our crops and all of this stuff. Why can't it be also helpful to us? And the ocean in itself, it is such a cleansing, whether it's to be in the ocean or by the ocean or near some water, the energy of moving water is so pivotal in being able to hit and change what is happening in here for you. They are my non-negotiables.
Yes. And I love that you kind of reiterated that non-negotiable word, because I just think it's really important for your listeners to hear that you're allowed to decide what your non-negotiables are and you're allowed to execute them.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you so much, Tori. Oh my God, we're speaking about so much. We're nearly at the end.
What a pleasure.
I know. Our journey is seldom without challenges. Next, let's address some common hurdles in overcoming roadblocks, doubt, and fear, discussing how to navigate these to stay true to your path. So, Tori, transitioning from a well-established career to follow a calling that's closer to your heart must have naturally been a very scary moment at first, where there may have been some skeptics or moments of doubt. Can you share how you dealt with these and what kept you steadfast in your belief to your new direction?
I'd first like to share that the way you worded that question was a little bit like there must have been. In other words, it was past tense.
Ooh.
Let me tell you, there are still very much people who are skeptics and, people who think that I've gone loony and all of that. And I am completely anchored into my truth that
Mhm.
I honestly, that is okay. When people think I'm a loony, they're just on a different journey to me. And
Yeah.
I don't even let it enter my psyche. I'm a bit like, when you're so aligned with what you're doing and aligned with your truth,
Mhm.
not much can actually knock you off, because when it kind of fills your heart with so much love that when people throw acid or hate at you, it almost, without sounding too without alienating people who are listening, but it almost slides off like Teflon, and
Mm.
you just truly acknowledge that's okay. They're just on a different journey and a different path. They have different beliefs. When you know your own true inner limiting beliefs, when you've unpacked them, when you've cleared them, you can see your old limiting beliefs in others.
Mhm.
And so it's almost fascinating when they throw things at you. It's fascinating to go, I've been there. I know you. I know you so well. Things like that. So,
Mhm.
yes, it does still happen. And I just really anchor into my truth, and I'm okay with the fact that they have different beliefs to me.
Mhm, mhm, absolutely, and I think, it's the same when, I started to grow and change into different businesses and move away from, where I first started my psychology and where I've kind of gone into, and now being a lot more on media, it's so easy to fall into the trap of comparisons and then questioning whether or not you're doing the right thing, but realizing, no, it's important to stay in your own lane. If this brings
Mhm.
you joy, if this brings you excitement, then it is meant for you. And what other people are saying are naturally more reflections or projections about them or potentially
Mhm.
things for you to be able to reflect on. And if it's for you, then take it. And if it's not, that's absolutely okay. Move on, because you don't want to, and it's not to say that you were, but it's that kind of acknowledgement that if people are sharing aspects that you are going to take on and grow with, then of course, if it's, like I said, meant for you, then we all take that because we're at a, you know, we hope we're at an adult level that we're able to own what is our responsibility to own, and where we can maybe have room for improvement or growth. But I think where it is unnecessary or inappropriate, then absolutely. And it goes back to what we talked about not putting meaning to something, right? Is if you're not putting
Yes.
meaning to that, it's then not changing the emotional experience of you still loving what you're doing, and you're not then putting energy into something that is then going to pull you away from what it is that's actually the journey that you're on.
Yes, exactly. I love that you said that because I also want to acknowledge, of course, I make mistakes and I probably say things on social media that are wrong because I'm a human. One, let's go back to the messy middle and how beautiful the messy middle is. And
Yeah.
when people call me out on that, if it actually is a true reflection of something that I don't believe, like just say I accidentally said something derogatory to a race, right? I'm at my core, I like to think I am so compassionate and I want everyone to feel welcome in my space. If I accidentally said something that was derogatory and someone called me out on it, I don't get up on my pedestal going, "Oh, I didn't mean that." I will actually reflect and go, "Wow, yeah, thank you for showing me that. I am glad that I have the ability to look at it and grow. And you've shown me I don't want to say anything, like that." And at the same time, if someone does say something that isn't at all what I meant and it's a reflection of them, then I can let that go. So it's just always, as you said, this kind of looking at it, making your decision as to whether it's going to help you grow or you can take it or not take it.
Mhm.
And I also want to share failures because you asked that question about failures too, or challenges. And of course, I've had, in inverted commas, failures in my businesses. And I'm really lucky because I don't know if I was just born like this genetically or if I've cleared some limiting beliefs around it, but I truly am okay with failures. I have launched programs that have 0 people sign up. I have stuffed up email flows. I've stuffed up money collection and had to, apologize and refund money and messily in this back end system, like things stuff up in business. And
Yeah.
never do I personally take that on and be like, I'm such a failure. I truly know that this is my journey. Oh, how great that I had 0 people sign up to that program because I know this is going to be part of my journey. And now I can help other people who had 0 people sign up to their programs. And I just really take that as like, it's not a no, it's an evolution to go down something, the next thing. Everything is just one step, one step, one step. And people get caught in but this was my one big thing. And I actually want to share with you, it's never really your one big thing. Everything is just one step. But it's a journey, like we keep
Absolutely.
coming back to. It's all a journey.
Absolutely. And I don't know who originally said this quote, but the universe either says yes, not yet, or no, right? So it's as if there's so many different ways to look at failures or mishaps or setbacks. And I recently did a video on it. It's that you lean into these moments as experiences for growth, and I've shared a countless amount of time how many times my businesses were a flop or challenges with clients didn't work out the way that I had hoped, and or clients didn't align with me, and that's absolutely okay. It's part of working out who you want to be and who then gravitates towards you and what opportunities gravitate towards you. And through every single one of those mishaps or challenges or setbacks or failures like we're talking about, it's because of them it creates the next leg of the journey for you. Without it, you are literally on the same plane, right? Going in the one direction. When this hits, it's again, you can be in that, and it's okay to be upset by it, and it's okay to wallow in it. We're not saying don't have an emotive experience. You're supposed to, but through that, it's a beautiful opportunity for growth.
Word, accurate. Take me to church again.
I love it. Oh, so Tori, is there anything else that I haven't asked about or that you'd like to share with us before we do our final concluding segment?
Oh, I might just share with everyone the concept that there is 4 steps to your kind of spiritual awakening or your manifestation process. And the first, once you kind of woken up enough that you want to go on the journey, I would suggest that you always come back to one, the foundations. You need to just really get your understanding of that subconscious mind, those limiting beliefs, almost the understanding of that dreamer framework. So the foundations. And then you need to uncover, rediscover, and activate. So you're uncovering those limiting beliefs, then you are rediscovering your truth, and then you are activating that higher self version of you. So there's kind of 4 steps on your journey: foundations, uncover, rediscover, and activate. And I hope that that little 4-step framework can also help you really simplify it to know that it is so achievable for anyone who wants to live this beautiful, abundant life.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Oh, that sounds so beautiful. And I think if I'm to reframe that back to, therapy, we do that very, similar to so many different therapy styles where you are taking a time to slow down, to educate, to build awareness before you're then reshaping or challenging or replacing, negative thoughts or negative belief systems. And then through that work, we're healing some wounds that we haven't been able to even realize exist before then moving on to a practice of finding out who we truly are. And that is a journey. So I think what you've highlighted there is no matter who you decide to see, whether it's coaches or whether it's counselors or psychologists, in the end, it can be then a pivotal journey for you to be able to help have someone to navigate those treacherous waters with, that are going to then, be that beacon of support if you do need it, that guide you along that way.
Oh, gosh, Claudia, I could just listen to you for days. I feel like you have the most incredible ability to just really articulate so well the kind of thoughts that circulate around my head. So thank you so much for your very, very clever brain.
My heart is so full.
Yes.
So, as we conclude today's insightful discussion, let's recap the key takeaways from understanding the impact of digital personas to embracing spiritual awakenings and the power of manifestation. Our journey today highlights the importance of pursuing our personal truths. We encourage you to share your experiences with finding authenticity in the digital age and your stories of intuition and manifestation in the comments below. Thank you so much, Tori, for these enlightening discussions, and thank you so much to our listeners for joining us. Remember, the path to your authentic self is both challenging and rewarding, and intuition and manifestations are guides that can lead you there. If you have any questions for Tori or I, please add them to the discussions below, and don't forget to subscribe and tune in for future episodes. Tori, thank you again. It was an absolute pleasure having you part of our podcast. I truly appreciate you.
Thank you, my darling. What a beautiful way to spend our weekend together. Thank you so much. It was such an honor.